Tendulkar in Mumbai. Since then, we've done it every year. All of you who are present today, you can tweet, use Instagram, do Facebook using the hashtag Salaam Cricket 19. Before we get going, I need to thank our sponsors. It's co-presented by Omax, driven by Renault. Associate sponsors Serra, Xiaomi, Instarem, Zeal, and on-ground partners ITW Playworks and Mans Media. Okay, the first session. Two generations of cricketers, but two people who have 10,000 international test runs and 700 international wickets to their name. Two people who have won the World Cup 1983 and 1999. While we all talk of the brain fade of Alan Donald, please go back and see that semi-final, and you will know that the man who tweaked it with his leg spinners will be on stage with Mr. Sunil Gavaskar in the next couple of minutes. And my favorite Sunil Gavaskar story to set it up, I just cross-checked with Sunny Bhai, and he says, as the ball hit Michael Holding's pad, that last delivery, and it rolled over, Sunil Gavaskar was actually trying to prevent a leg bye. And he picked up the ball and he put it in his pocket. The whole of Lords had descended. Everybody from the gallery had descended onto the ground. And there was one Indian who decided to pickpocket Sunil Gavaskar and take the ball from his pocket. So he put his hand inside Sunil Gavaskar's pocket, trying to take the ball out. And Mr. Gavaskar, without even looking at the man, held him like this and started running. To quote him, not even Usain Bolt could have held him that day. Halfway down to the pavilion, the man finally said, please, if you could leave my hand. Because his hand was still inside Mr. Gavaskar's pocket. Story doesn't end there. 2 years back, Mr. Gavaskar was coming out of the Lord's shop there, and suddenly this gentleman walks up to him and says, do you remember me? And he says, no, who are you? He said, my hand was in your pocket in the 1983 World Cup final. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the session will be moderated by my colleague, consulting editor of the India Today Group, Rajdeep Sardesai. Put your hands together for two legends, Sunil Gavaskar and Shane Warne.
Memory of this great man.
Please clear the way. Please. They'll come from the side. Please clear the way.
In your pocket and not giving it to anyone else.
You want to start?
Yeah.
Check.
Mr. Gavaskar, if you want to know the fall where India won the World Cup in 83 in this ground, it was Mr. Gavaskar. Okay, let me ask you. Okay, the audience was. Okay, we have the two legends with us, Sunil Gavaskar, Shane Warne. Your favorite World Cup memories. I've got to start with you, Mr. Gavaskar, as the senior person here.
Yes, Thank you for that. It's got to be Kapil Dev lifting the World Cup on the Lord's balcony in 1983 after India beat West Indies, defending a small total of 183. That's an unforgettable moment. That's the best moment of my career.
And you keeping that cricket ball, the ball with which we won in the World Cup, in your pocket.
Yes. When Michael Holding tried to play the pull shot of Mohinder Ramanath, the ball deflected off his pads towards the point area where I was fielding. And my first reaction at that stage was to stop a leg by, because from there you don't know whether the batsman is in front of the stumps or not. And then the roar of the crowd, signifying that the umpire had given Michael Holding out. I looked up, yes, the finger was up. I picked the ball up, put it in my pocket in the fastest sprint of my life towards the pavilion. I don't think Usain Bolt would have caught me that day.
And the ball is still in Mr. Gavaskar's house. So if you want to know where is India's World Cup winning ball, it's in the house of Sunil Gavaskar. Shane Warne, your favorite World Cup memory, or your favorite memory of this ground?
Yeah, very similar to Sunny. The 1999 World Cup here at Lord's, winning that was something pretty special. Singing our team song out in the middle, having a nice glass of beer afterwards was pretty cool. It was an amazing thing to win a World Cup. We started off pretty slowly and had to win, I think, 7 games in a row to win the World Cup. If we lost one, we were out. So to do that in the way we did that, to beat Pakistan in the final, was an amazing achievement.
It couldn't have been one glass of beer.
No, there might have been a couple.
Was it Australian?
It was Australian, yes, it was Australian.
Okay, great. Wonderful. The legends themselves to start off and kick off Salaam Cricket.
Okay, if you could please clear out the entrance so that they could come in. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you could please settle down over to Rajdeep Sardesai with the two legends, Sunil Gavaskar and Shane Warne.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Lords and Salaam Cricket India today's Aaj Tak special presentation. Give our two guests a very big hand at the very outset. This is a very special moment. The word legend is overused in the times in which we live. In this T20 generation where today's score is tomorrow's history. But honestly, the two gentlemen with us to kick off Salaam Cricket are genuine legends. If you had to choose an all-time world level across the decades, across the century, most teams would have Shane Warne as their main leg spinner and Sunil Gavaskar as the opening batsman, which is why these two gentlemen are truly special. Thank you very much for being here. And there's another thing that unites the two of you. So I'm going to ask a quiz question. I'm a quiz master when I'm not doing my regular work. So my question is, what is it that unites the world's greatest leg spinner and the world's greatest opening batsman when it comes to World Cups? Let's see if you have the answer.
You go first, mate.
Well, winning the World Cup is the one thing that unites us. Probably the only time we were part of the winning team.
No, that's not the exact answer. Come on, Shane.
Did you win a couple of times?
No, I lost the final to Sri Lanka and won another World Cup here. So I'd say it's the same. Sonny and I both won a World Cup here at Lord's.
You are the two who won the last two World Cups that were played in England, which is pretty much what it is. 83 and 99, the last two times the World Cup was held in England. One was won by Shane Warne, one was won by Sunil Gavaskar. I'll give you half the marks.
Okay, okay.
Very good, very good.
Happy to get half the marks because I've always believed in opening your account. Never mind if it's with a half, not with a one.
That's the way it is. Okay, let me ask you then the question. 83 India, 99 Australia at Lords. 2019, take your pick. Who's the team that's most likely to win the World Cup? Who wants to go first?
I know what he's going to say. So,
Really?
yeah, I know. I know he's going to say India, so I'm going to say Australia. So I'm going to say Australia.
Oh, you're going to say Australia. You're picking Australia. Well done. After all
He's gonna
those
say
years
India.
of trauma with the
But he's going
Australia.
to say India, so I'm picking Australia.
Shane?
Look, I agree with Sonny. I think India are a fantastic chance to win. I think they have. I think they've got a well-balanced side. They've got the best batsman in the world in Virat Kohli. They've got the best bowler in the world in Bumrah. So I think they've got a very well-balanced side, a lot of variety in their attack. I think they'll be hard to go past India. But having said that, England, it hurts me a lot to say that England are actually very, very good. I think they'll be tough. England at home here. I think Owen Morgan the other day, Nasser Hussain asked him at the toss. He said, do you like the favourites tag? You know, and normally most England sides would say, well, you know, you've got India, you've got other sides that are... He said, yes, we love it, bring it on, we like that. So I think the mood in their camp is they believe they can win too. They believe they're the best side in the competition. And I think England and India are the two favourites.
I can't believe an
I know,
Australian is actually going down to saying an English side could win a World Cup.
I'm telling you, it hurts me to say it too, but they're a very good side.
You know, in a sense, the very fact that today we're actually looking at India as favourites shows how much the World Cup has changed, how much the world has changed. You came here in 1983. What were we, 50-1 outsiders? Rumor goes that you had already planned a visit after the group stages to go to America with your families. You didn't even expect to go through the group stages, and yet you go on to win the World Cup. Today we are talking about India as potential favourites to win the trophy.
Yes, they certainly are, but I must put that story correctly. It wasn't after the group stages. We had planned to have the trip to America after the completion of the World Cup. So that's not true. We weren't pessimistic. We weren't overly optimistic because looking at the way we had performed in 75 and 79, it was obviously something which we hadn't got our heads around because India had not played a lot of one-day cricket. And it was, to be honest, I think our turnaround in the whole thing started, in the format started when we went to Australia in 1980-81, where we had to play 10 one-day games. 10 one-day games, it was 5 against Australia, it was a tri-series, 5 against New Zealand. And that's the first time we started to take the one-day game seriously. There was a lot of thinking, which lines to bowl to what batsman, what sort of field placing to have for which bowlers, etc. So while earlier on, we just went in like a Sunday game, just, have a bash, have fun and come back. This time, there were prizes at the end. There was substantial prize money. And there was a trophy to be won as well. So while earlier on you just played a series, there was nothing to be won. There was not even a token trophy or anything of the sort. So we started to take one-day cricket seriously, and that's where the turnaround actually started. Then we came to the West Indies in 1983 before we came here, and we beat them, the world champions. We beat them once in a match in Guyana. So yes, I think while we weren't being silly by thinking we'll win the World Cup, we weren't negative, we weren't pessimistic either. We thought that if things went our way, we could make a run for the semis for sure.
The rule with Mr. Gavaskar is we are never to remind him about the 36 runs in 60 overs at Lords in 1975. That is not to be, that's a story not to be told. But that's how the game changed over the years, I guess.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You see, I think what happens in life is that people only remember the bad things. By the end of my career, I think...
You scored 100.
I got 100, which was the second fastest in World Cup history. Nobody talks about that. People only talk about that particular innings. I got out to the first ball of a test match on 3 occasions. But nobody tells me about those 3 occasions. They talk to me about my 100. So I don't know how people, think about things. But there you are. Yes, and when I saw last year, and I want to digress because I think I want to put this to bed. When I saw last year somebody who's got much more talent, much more strokes than I, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, at this very ground, India v England, struggling to put the ball away at this very ground. That's when I said that it sort of actually took me back to that particular innings, because believe you me, the ball was seaming around. It was a red ball. Red ball moves, as Shane would say, it moves a lot more than the white ball. The England bowlers were bowling really well. Every time, like MST did the other day, every time I hit a good shot, it went straight to the fielder. It didn't go between the fielders. So, it was like instead of getting boundaries, it was dot ball, and then the pressure built up, just like it did with the MST that time. So, there you are. Sometimes you have a bad day. Everybody has a bad day at the office.
We buried it. It's over. It's done. It's 83 World Cup that we are going to talk about, not 1975. But Shane Warne, taking off from what Mr. Gavaskar said, how has the game then dramatically changed? You won the World Cup '99, not too long ago, just 20 years. But in 20 years, the game has changed so dramatically with T20 cricket, possibly smaller boundaries, white balls all the time, 2 balls from each end. What's the biggest change that you've seen over these 20 years since you won the World Cup the last time it was played at Lord's?
I think the improvisation and the attitude towards the game now. If for instance, when you were batting, if there was a deep mid-off, you wouldn't try and hit it over deep mid-off. You'd say that's a dangerous shot. You'd try and hit over deep mid-on. Now, doesn't matter where they are, they still try and hit it. So I think the bowlers need to improve at the same level as the batsmen have. I think when you get a contest between bat and ball and the pitch conditions are right, there's no mention of small boundaries or big bats or anything like that. So to me, the biggest thing we need to do in cricket is make sure there's a proper contest between bat and ball, an even contest. And if we can do that, the pitch needs to be right. Whether it spins from ball one or a one-day game or it's a test match, it spins or it seams, there's got to be a contest between bat and ball, otherwise the bat will dominate too much. But I think the athleticism in the fielding too has been amazing. I think the modern day players fielding, the intensity they field at. I mean, I look at the Indian side, and a lot of the Indian sides I played against weren't the greatest fielding teams, but now they're probably as good as any side in the world at fielding. They're running between wickets. So I think the real athleticism, I think everything that India is doing at the moment, the importance they're putting on Ranji Trophy, the IPL, everything that India is doing, I think a lot of teams are starting to try and copy the way India are playing their cricket. And I think Virat's a big part of that. He demands a certain fitness levels. He demands a certain intensity when he plays. Sure, he goes over the top occasionally with emotions, but I like that. He shows he cares. So to me, I think the biggest changes are the mentality and thinking of the batsman and the athleticism in the fielding, I would say, is the biggest change. I mean, the semi-final against South Africa, we made 213.
That's right.
And it was a fantastic game of cricket. So, because the ball was spinning. If you get the conditions, it evens the contest out, and I think it doesn't matter if it's 400. I don't like 400 plays 401.
So you think the conditions should be more even? You think the bat should be lighter? That there should be a rule that says you can't have a bat above a certain weight? That the grounds you think are too small at the moment? The boundaries need to go back to where they were?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying there's no talk of that when you get the pitch conditions right, because there's an even contest between bat and ball. I think if a bat manufacturer can make a huge bat, then that's fine. That's an advantage that company has over another company. So I don't mind about the bat sizes. The ground sizes, I think if we could make them as big as possible would be better. Not all grounds can be the size of the MCG. So that's physically impossible. But if we can make them as big as they can be, that'd be great.
Because, one of the things that we're already noticing in the World Cup is the teams that are going to pick up wickets are the teams that will do well. We've already seen in a couple of games, either the fast bowlers or indeed every team has a good leg spinner. Most teams have a good leg spinner, something that was perhaps, spinners when you started off this format were seen to be an endangered species. Now we are seeing the return of spin with virtually every team playing with one, sometimes even with 2 spinners. Is that another big change that we're going to see in this World Cup?
Certainly. I think as far as spin, there were always spinners, but there were no wrist spinners. Wrist spinners were hardly ever used because wrist spinners were looked at as being expensive, that they would bowl the odd boundary ball in the over. But if I might be a little immodest, 1985, when India won the World Championship of Cricket in Melbourne, that was the first time a leg spinner was used. Shivram Krishnan was used. And I remember sitting in the selection committee meeting, and the selection committee was saying, how can you take a leg spinner? And I said, I want a leg spinner because we're playing in Australia, big grounds, and it'll be difficult to clear the leg spinner. And Siva got, I think, 18, 19 wickets, along with Ravi Shastri. So the 2 spinners played a role. And I think ever since then, ever since the T20 format has come in, the leg spinner has become even more important. And clearly, I think the leg spinners know where to bowl. I mean, look at Imran Tahir, look at all the leg spinners, look at Chahal. I think even Shane, when he bowled, there was just that little more variety. With a lot of the medium pacers, with a lot of the quickies, there is a predictability. So the batsman can line them up. With a leg spinner, you can't always line them up. Look at Rashid Khan, for example. He's a quicker leg spinner. You can't line him up. You can't say, I'm going to go down the pitch because, he might bowl it just a little bit. So that's why I think leg spinners have a big role to play now.
Basically, he's saying you got to make a comeback. Shane, you got to play. You got to make a comeback.
No. I think that it's great to see so many spin bowlers in short form cricket, in 50-over cricket. And I think it's because they're being used very well. They're being attacking options. But I think the batting, they don't pick the bowler as much anymore because all they're trying to do is slog them out the park. So there's no finesse. There's no working for twos, a lot of that. They're just trying to, it's either block or hit it because they're not reading the leg spinner that well at the moment. So that's why I think all teams want a mystery spinner or a leg spinner.
Is there anyone in this tournament who stands out for you? I mean, the greatest leg spin bowler the world has ever seen. Is there someone out of all these leg spinners, the Zampas, the Tahirs, the Rashid Khans, the Chahals, who stand out for you as a bowler who could possibly win this World Cup for his team this time?
Wow, there's so many good ones. And I like the variation. There's so many, they're different. They're not all traditional type leg spinners. So they're all completely different. I think the standout, if you had a blank canvas of paper and you're picking a team in 50-over or 20-over cricket, I think Rashid Khan would be one of the first people named. So I'd have to say Rashid Khan is probably my favourite leg spinner to watch at the moment, mainly because the batsmen don't pick him, and I like his aggression when he bowls. I think he's very, very good.
And we'd love to see Afghanistan do well in this World Cup. It's an incredible story. Along with spinners, what's changed, of course, and it's been building up over time, is the way opening batsmen now play. Have you ever thought of Sunil Gavaskar opening with Chris Gayle and what it would be like? You and Gayle opening together. I've often wondered how that would go. You'd probably just take a single and tell him 5 balls, no, it's all yours, mate.
Sonny would have adapted. He played the way that cricket was played then. If Sonny was playing now, he'd smash it all over the park. It's simple because he's a great player. Any great player from any era would adapt to the modern day player. The average cricketers ages ago wouldn't.
And I used to see him. After he retired, he'd come and play for our club at Bombay Gymkhana. And every match, he'd hit a couple of sixes. And we'd go to him and say, sir, why didn't you do it when you were playing the game? He said, that time, if I got out, the Indian team got out. And that was the difference between then and now. But the opening batting, when you see a Chris Gayle or you see some of the English batsmen, the Jason Roys or Bairstows, just stepping out in the first over, hitting over the top, do you just wonder what kind of game has this become?
I think it's a very attractive game. I quite enjoy seeing that happening. And if you see most of the shots that are played, they're proper cricketing shots. Yes, occasionally Chris Gayle will step away and have a bit of a wild heave. But you see the Jason Roys, you see the Rohit Sharmas, they play with a proper straight cricketing bat. So they're playing the only difference is they're playing lofted drives. We played maybe along the ground because that was our DNA, that was our upbringing. In cricketing upbringing was you can't hit the ball above 6 inches. If you did, the coaches would ask you to run an extra lap of the ground as punishment. So the upbringing was different. Now the coaches tell you, go ahead. The word that they use very regularly, express yourself. So they go and express themselves by, lofting the ball up in the air. And they do it with cricketing shots. The lofted extra cover drive, which is a difficult shot to play for a 6. Yes, you can play one bounce. That is seen so regularly. It's so difficult, and the modern batsman does it so regularly. It is just thrilling to watch. It's thrilling. And for me, I know a lot of people say, how can you say that? The switch hit and the reverse sweep gets me off my chair every single time. Because when it's connected, it is an incredible shot.
You ever thought of playing the switch hit? I mean,
Sonny didn't need
but
to.
the thing was that the real story was that you used to live in a small gully, I thought, where if you hit the ball high, the windows would break. And that was one of the reasons your mother told you that you have to hit the ball along the ground because I'm not paying for the broken windows. Right? Something like that. But, that's the way the game is changed. But you think great players would, in a sense, adjust to any game. I think sometimes we tend to sort of thereby look at a cricketer only in his generation. You think the greatest in the game would have adjusted. Whether Don Bradman was playing today, he'd play, perhaps hit a switch hit in today's cricket.
The great players of any era would always adapt, and that's why they're great. No matter what the conditions, no matter what the style of play is, they would adapt to whatever form it is. And that's why it's so hard to judge. You know, when someone says, pick your greatest all-time side, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. I mean, I look at Viv Richards. You don't think Viv Richards would adapt to today's game? Of course he would. You know, you go back through the years, the Don Bradmans, and he was the greatest batsman of all time. Of course he would reverse sweep if he needed to, because it wasn't the way it was done. I mean, when 96 World Cup, when Sri Lanka beat us, that was sort of the time when the opening role changed. They had
Jayasuriya and Kaluwitharana. Yeah.
And they just came out and went for it. And then every side decided, okay, well, maybe we need a wicket-keeper opening batsman that can slog to give us another. We came up with Gilchrist. You know, we win 99. So it just keeps evolving over that period of time.
He used the word express yourself. The other word which everyone keeps telling me is fearless. Do you really believe today's players are more fearless than your generation when they've got a long on, long off and will still hit over the top? Are they really more fearless, or is it just the way the game again is now played?
I don't think they're fearless. I don't think is the right word. I think they're more. Some players use it as an excuse. Well, that's the way we play. You know, I don't like that. That's the way we play, because I don't think some players sum up the situation of the game well enough, or their awareness for the situation. The question the modern day player needs to ask most of the time is, what does my team need me to do right now? If that's to stay in and just work it around and get some control back in the game, or bowl a tidy over, that's what they need to do. They can't just keep slogging, oh, well, we bowled out for 150. I think that's an excuse. So I don't know if fearless is the right word. I think they're prepared to take more risks. That's probably a fairer thing to say.
You know, and when they use the word fearless, I feel like telling them that Mr. Gavaskar's generation played without helmets.
Exactly.
You know, when you look at Sir Viv, you know, and we're going to have him on the show, when he used to hook, without a helmet. And therefore, I just wonder whether that word fearless also is a bit overused. It must make a huge difference in this game when you have a helmet and all the protection you have compared to your generation.
I think adventurous is probably the right word.
Adventurous.
Yes, they're a lot more adventurous, you know, where they're prepared to, you know, assess that, look, there is a fielder down there, but we will go over the top. We have the capability. And only the other day we were talking about the bats, the difference the bats have made. Because even somebody like as powerful as Clive Lloyd or Viv Richards, when they hit the sixes, in those days that would barely go over the boundary. Occasionally, of course, it went a fair distance. But today, just about everybody is hitting the ball deep into the crowd. Or sometimes out of the ground, yes. So
people in the crowd need to wear a helmet when Andre Russell is batting.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, when Andre Russell is batting, you actually fear for someone in the crowd one day. Yes. He's going to hit someone badly in the crowd.
Well, we've had a situation where in one of the IPL games, Chris Gale hit a young girl and broke her nose. So yes, it's likely to happen.
Hard for the bowlers. I want to say bowlers might end up wearing a helmet soon.
The umpires. You know,
quite hard running in trying to bowl 150 kilometres an hour and wearing a helmet.
You know, because was the turning point T20? You know, we're playing 50-over cricket. And I already see a lot of young people getting bored after 20 overs, wondering when are the last 30 overs going to get over. Has T20 cricket in some way, Shane Warne, changed the way T50 is played, made T50 a little bit more boring for a younger audience?
No, I don't think so. I think T20 is enhanced 50-over cricket, Test cricket. It's enhanced everything. I love the way it's played, the game, the T20 format. I think what we'd like to see a little bit more with 50-over cricket is a more adventurous captaincy, not as defensive captaincy. If you get a bit more attacking, that would be good.
You know, one of the things that's happened with this game, one of the changes that's happened with the way cricket is watched, we've got Ranveer Singh joining us, and this is the celebrity. And I'm going to ask the audience, Ranveer, you today the two legends are on stage. You're the side act.
I'm always the side act.
Hi, sir. How are you, man? You okay?
Sir, good to see you.
Okay.
First cup. Hey!
Okay, he's...
You we're about to go and do that.
Okay, by the way, Ranveer is here because he's shooting for a film. I'll ask everyone to sit down, please. Because he's here shooting for a film on the 1983 World Cup. And he's playing the role of Kapil Dev. Now, I don't know how difficult that is. That's right. That's the way you've got to learn the action for starters. The Kapil Dev action, there's only one Kapil Dev. Ranveer can try all he wants. There is only one Kapil Dev. But look at it. We are now in 2019. And we're doing a big Hindi film on the 1983 World Cup. In that sense, Sunil Gavaskar, we mentioned T20 for a moment. Was 83 World Cup the turning point for Indian cricket? That's what changed Indian cricket forever.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Because color television had come into India just about 6 months earlier, just around 1982 when the Asian Games were played in New Delhi. And color television had just come in. And India wasn't getting live cricket for a while. And this one, in 1983, where India won the World Cup in color television, live, you know, when people got to see it live, I think that changed Indian cricket forever. Because after that, it's just taken off, and we have to say that the 1983 win was the first step towards what cricket is today.
Yeah, we become the superpower of the game in a way. Shane Warne, you know, there's something about the Australians and the World Cup. There have been times when you've come into the World Cup not in form. And then when the World Cup comes, the Australians raise their game. What is it about the World Cup that galvanizes this Australian cricket team, all Australian cricket teams over the years, to in some way raise the bar?
Yeah, well, as I said at the start, I think India and England are the two favourites, and probably I fancy India. But I think Australia, you can't write off Australia. I mean, they've won, 5 of the last 6 World Cups. Right. I think they've played in 6 of the last 7 finals. There's something that it's really important. You know, the World Cup is really important. I think it brings out the best in the Australian team. Australia played pretty ordinary for the last 12 months or so with a lot of issues. But just in the last month or so, they're starting to hit their straps and starting to play well. And I just think a lot of their players are in form. So I think generally when they come here together, they're pretty clear with their strategy. They play the World Cups really well. And that's been, ever since the start of the World Cups in '75, they've played well. So I think they enjoy it. I think coming in, they've generally had some big players. To win a World Cup, you need your big players to play well. You're not going to win them with your players that just play their role all the time. You need your big players to stand up in any team. If your big players stand up, you'll win the World Cup. Simple as that.
That's right. You won 4 of the last 6, which is quite remarkable. The big players. Let's look at the big players. Who are those big players, Sunil Gavaskar, in this World Cup that you think have that ability to win a World Cup? As Shane Warne says, there's always those 2 or 3 players with that X factor. Do you see Virat and Bumrah, particularly in the Indian context, as the 2 people who have the ability, or is it's unfair to expect 2 players to take a team all the way to the World Cup finals and win it?
Well, sometimes you can. Sometimes it's an outstanding performance by an individual that can take the team across the line. I mean, look at what happened against Zimbabwe in 1983. We were 17 for 5, and Kapil Dev came and played an innings of 175. Single-handed. Single-handed.
He's going to have to bat like Kapil Dev. You're not just going to have to bowl like Kapil Dev, you're going to have to bat like Kapil Dev, which is another big challenge. That was a remarkable match. I mean, when you look at that Zimbabwe match.
Yes, exactly. So yes, there will be, there's got to be an outstanding performance to take you over the line, and obviously supported by the others around. And that's what every team will need to do. There will always be the special players, the players that everybody around at the ground is expecting, even if you're from the opposition team. You're supporting the opposition team. When you see a particular player, you're going to say, well, I think he's going to be the key. If we, if I'm supporting my team, if we get this guy out, or if we hammer this guy, if we don't lose wickets to him, then we have a better chance. So that's always going to be the case. Naming them, I think every team's got somebody special. Every team has got somebody special. Some teams have got more than one special. I think in India, we've got the openers. Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan. They invariably give the team a good start. And that makes it a lot easier for the batsman coming down. And particularly in these conditions in England, where the ball swings around a bit and seams after pitching, if your openers give you a solid foundation, and then the numbers 3, 4, 5, and we in India are still not certain who's going to be number 4. So that opening position, the opening stand becomes very, very crucial.
So it's not just about it's not just about Virat and Bumrah as the sort of narrative wakes out. I must tell Ranveer though that 175 innings is not on television because there was a BBC strike. So you're going to have to imagine how Kapil Dev played, which is going to make it even more difficult for you. Yes, but go ahead.
He's talked to Kapil. He spent 10 days with Kapil, so he knows what
Every shot.
Not easy.
If you look at
yes,
India,
go ahead.
and most sides have 2 or 3 match winners. If you look at India, I would say Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, Pandya, Bumrah. There's 5. There's probably someone I've forgotten. But there's 5 match winners that at any stage of the tournament or a game, that you've got 5 players that can turn the game on its head. And when you have that sort of number of match winners in your side with a bit of X factor, you're going to go very, very close.
But you've got, in the Australian side, you've got the likes of Warne, Maxwell, Stark, Smith. So, Mr. Gavaskar's right in a way that you have every team in this World Cup perhaps has 4 or 5 players with that X factor, which makes this World Cup that much more exciting, especially as every team plays every team. In that sense, does this become the most competitive World Cup that we've ever had?
I agree. And I think, the sides you just mentioned then, you look at England too, the firepower, Butler and Stokes, even
Morgan.
Bairstow, Morgan, they've got a lot as well. So Archer, the addition of Archer. So I think Australia, India and England, I'd be pretty disappointed in those 3 teams if they didn't make the playoffs. I think those 3 sides will make the playoffs. And then the other one, New Zealand always go under the radar. The West Indies have hit the ground running with their bowlers. They've got quick bowlers. Pakistan, you never know what they're going to produce. Some days they can be good, some days they're ordinary. But I think the West Indies, I've got a feeling that they do pretty well in these competitions. I think they might slide into that 4th spot and they'll be the 4 sides in the playoffs. And then you need a little bit of luck. You need a bit of injuries. You need someone to have a day out and you can win a World Cup.
That's the one problem with this World Cup format, that you could actually win all the 9 matches in the group, have one bad day in that semi-final and you're out. Should we have changed that World Cup format in the last 4 to what we do in the IPL, where teams 1 and 2 get 2 bites at the cherry? Is that the one mistake that the ICC's made?
Well, that's something that they should be looking at. And particularly if the difference in points between, say, 2 and 3 is, say, X, then I believe that should be taken into account as well. But if the difference in points between, say, team number 2 and team number 3 just 1 or 2, just 1 match, then I'm not too sure. But the broadcasters would love it, of course. There's an extra match you're talking about. You're talking about the top 2.
One extra time. One extra match.
It's worth thinking about, but this is only every 4 years. So there's something pretty special about this is a World Cup and this is what it takes to win. You have to be on your day. You have to be ready. You've made the playoffs. That's the first thing. And once you make the playoffs, today you deliver. And that's why I talk about your big players. Your big players embrace that opportunity. That's a knockout. If you don't play well today, we're out. No matter how well you've played for 6 weeks. So I sort of like the beauty of you've got to perform on that day.
Because I remember that semi-final that you were talking about against South Africa, 1999. The South Africans were cantering with the match. And then Steve Waugh brings you out. You take 2 wickets and you transform the match. It is, again, what you said about soaking in the pressure, presumably, that did you really sort of thrive under the fact that you were playing a semi-final or a final? Give me the ball.
Yes. I embrace it. I want the ball in my hand in those big moments. I'm sure Sonny wants to be batting at those big moments. The players in your side, you've got to want that. If you fear that and you're scared in the field, don't hit the ball to me or don't throw me the ball, you're not going to perform well. And the Virat Kohlis and Bumrah will be standing at the top of the mark and say, I don't care how many they need to win off the last over. If it's 3, I'll do the job. That's why he's the best in the world. And that's why Virat Kohli, you see just the way he walks out to bat. Everyone fears what he could do. He's made something like 23 or 24 hundreds chasing. I mean, I think the next best is Viv Richards with 8 or 9. It is unbelievable what Virat's done. So those sort of players will say, semi-final, I don't care if it's do or die on the semi-final, bring it on.
We keep mentioning Virat Kohli. This is the Virat Kohli generation. What has Virat Kohli done for Indian cricket? I was the Sunil Gavaskar generation. We venerated you. We looked at you as the role model of how to bat. 6 hours, wear them down. Virat Kohli seems to have taken the game to another level. What's he done? Is it fitness, what Shane spoke of, or is there something more to this Virat Kohli phenomenon?
I think it's fitness is a very integral part of your success. And the way he's changed his lifestyle to be what he is today, I mean, that just tells you that the example that he's setting to the others. And also, I think that belief that he has, very seldom do you see that super self-belief that that Virat has in other players. There's always this little bit of diffidence about certain players, even though they are great players, performing well. There's just that little bit of diffidence. But with Virat, there is no diffidence. There is that confidence, sometimes bordering on arrogance. But that's what you need when you go out to play against the best bowlers in the world. When you walk out to bat, I mean, how many people have you seen walk out to bat with the swagger? Viv used to do that. Viv was, like a casual swagger, like he was going, for a walk in the park. He would be going like this,
With the gum, with the gum.
With
the gum, we'll get him.
Yeah, he would go like that, It was
Remember, he's coming today.
And then
Remember, he's going to be here today. He's going to
Yes.
remember this. Yes. And he's got the gum, with the gum, chewing the gum all the
yeah,
time.
and then of course, the handle of the bat, he would, where the grip was coming, he would always try and put it down.
That's right.
And then look at the bowler, through the corner of the eye. Never directly look at the, corner. I mean, what would the bowler be thinking? Hello, what am I going to bowl to him? Same thing. Same thing with Virat. The way Virat walks out to bat, a batsman could be out, the opening batsman could be out first ball. But look at the way Virat's literally running to the crease, saying, come on.
Bring it on.
You've got somebody out first ball, I'm there, come on. Now, that is the kind of confidence that is brought into this Indian team.
The greatest Indian one-day batsman ever, in your view, Virat Kohli? Is that argument settled?
Like Warne said, I'm not going to go into different eras. Every era has a champion. And
Come on, SMG.
Virat is the champion of this. Oh, well, this is a ball that you bowl around the off stump and I'm leaving it alone.
I knew it. I knew it. I could imagine that. But
I also think, just to add to what Sunny said, I think the way Virat thinks through an innings, the way he sort of says, okay, this bowler's got 3 overs to go, someone's bowling a good spell, I'm just going to see him off, I'm going to work that round, I'm going to take advantage of him. I think the way he navigates himself through an innings when they're chasing is unbelievable.
But we're talking about Virat, and let's not forget that we're just, 6 years since the great Tendulkar retired. And, not to talk about, with 2 legends, the other big legend. I mean, in a way, Sachin also changed the game. With the introduction of satellite television, he became this big star. Do you believe, as looking at it from the outside, when you were looking at Indian cricket growing up and today, was Sachin Tendulkar where it all turned? There's Kapil Dev, there's Sachin Tendulkar, now there's Virat Kohli in the context of one-day cricket.
Well, Sachin was a phenomenal player. He was... He was. I mean, as a bowler, when we're playing, India had a very, very good side in the era I played against India, but Sachin was always the standout. I think in my time of playing 20-odd years, Sachin Tendulkar and Brian Lara were the best 2 batsmen of our generation. And the way Sachin did it so many times against quality bowling, you think through some of those bowling attacks through the 90s, they had 2 or 3 good quicks and a good spinner in all sides. So I think Sachin was absolutely fantastic. It was great fun to play against. If you got him out, which was not very often, you knew you earned his wicket. He very rarely would give his wicket away. You'd have to earn it. He's become a friend over a long period of time as well. So, no, he was a terrific player.
We've got to talk a little bit about Kapil Dev. Not just because Ranveer is here, but because Kapil Dev da jawab nahi. When you think of cricket in that era, you saw Kapil Dev, there was something magical about him. What was it about Kapil Dev that stood out? I mean, there was something that Kapil Dev did to this game in India. Think about Kapil today in the T20 generation, what he would be like.
Well, he's getting paid a lot of money from the IPL.
He'd be the first pick. I would bet that Kapil Dev would be the first pick of any franchise, even today.
Definitely, no question about it. But I would say that Kapil was the first real athlete in Indian cricket. Before that, there were good batsmen, good bowlers, great batsmen, great bowlers, but a complete all-round athlete. I do believe that if you ask Kapil to run 100 meters, he would be very competitive. He would get very good timings. If you see him, he plays very good squash. He plays very good snooker. Golf. And golf, my God.
He used to throw a javelin, he told me as a kid.
So he is the first athlete who would have been good in any field if he had taken to. That wouldn't have been the case with the others. So I think, and from there, the Indian team also started to look at all-rounders. Till then, the all-rounders were thought of as somebody who, somebody who can bowl a few overs and bat at number 8 or something like that. But Kapil changed the whole outlook because and that's the reason I call him the greatest Indian cricketer ever, is because he could change the match. He could win you the match with the bat and with the ball. Not many, you can go through the history of Indian cricket. There are guys who will win you plenty of matches with the bat, guys who will win you matches with the ball. But with bat and ball, both, only one man, Kapil Dev Nikhat.
Is it true? Is it true that at lunchtime on that famous day in Lords, 183, or just after lunch when West Indies were bowled out for 183, Kapil Dev's only message to you was, Javano chalo, ladna hai. He called you Javano. Is it true that Kapil Dev was like the army chief that day and said, Javano chalo, ladna hai? No strategy, bas ladna hai.
No, actually that was my line.
That was your line? Really? Really? Keep it in the film.
That was my line as we were leaving the change room. That's when I said, Javano chalo jaake ladte hai.
That's right, it was your line. Good.
Javano jaake ladte.
Make sure it's in the film.
And Kapil, of course, said, we are here and it's a great day. Let's go out and enjoy ourselves, And that's how we went out, because we went out to savor the fact that we were in the finals of the World Cup. And that's the message that he kept giving us, that look, this is a game still, and let's go out and enjoy the game. And when you enjoy the game, your commitment is that much more. You're fully there. If you're not enjoying the game, you're going to be in the field, you're going to be laid back. Ball aaya, I'm not bothered about stopping it, that kind of thing. But when you enjoy, you want to get involved. You want to you want to make sure that every ball is stopped every time. You're involved in the sense that you're anything that happens, you go to somebody and say, look, I think this change needs to be made. So that is how it happened. And gee, man.
Well, you gave us the greatest day in Indian cricket. I can tell you, as a cricket fan, there's never been a bigger day than that June 25th of 1983. But at the very end, I want to ask you two. I know you don't want to pick your best 11 because that's a tough task, and we can do that perhaps later in the day. We'll give you more time on that. But if there was one batsman that you'd want in a World Cup final batting for you, Shane Warne, irrespective, could be an Australian, could be in any side, who would that player be who you'd want to win your side a World Cup? Any batsman who's
Anyone that's ever played?
Anyone who's ever played or anyone you've ever played with. The choice is entirely yours.
Obviously, besides Bradman, because Bradman...
Yeah, we leave Bradman
Forget
aside.
Bradman, because he was so much better than everybody else, I suppose. So, jeez. Do you want to go first, Sonny?
Yeah, he's got to choose a bowler.
Oh, he's got to choose the bowler. I've got to choose the batsman. Geez, Virat Kohli or Viv Richards, I think, would have to be... I think out of anyone that played, Viv Richards or Virat... Viv Richards was the greatest batsman I ever saw. But having a look at the records with Virat making so many hundreds, and I know it's a different game, it's so hard to choose, but I can't split them. Viv Richards and Virat Kohli.
How would you bowl to a Virat Kohli? I've often wondered, what would Shane Warne do? Would you try and tire him out? What would you do to him?
Try and get a single and bowl to the bloke at the other end.
That's right. Any bowler, if you wanted to win a World Cup final, there's one bowler that you think can do it for me. Who would that bowler be?
Wasim Akram.
He's also joining us on Salaam Cricket, and an Indian is picking up Pakistani. Wonderful. That makes it truly special, because we've had a day when an Australian is saying England has a chance to win a World Cup, and an Indian is saying that I want a Pakistani in my side. What was special about Akram?
Well, I'm still surprised that he calls it England. I would think, it's more apt to call it rest of the world.
Because they have a South African,
There were
West Indian.
6, 8 guys, who are not from England, born outside, and
That's
learned
okay.
their cricket outside. So I generally refer to it as the rest of the world side.
But any reason why Akram's so special for you?
Because he could bowl those Yorkers and get you out. 6 balls out of 6, he would get you out. He had that capability. The variety that he had, the arm speed, he was just amazing. He's the best left-handed bowler that I have seen.
Yeah.
And before that, of course, it was always Bishan Bedi, and I think Bishan Bedi, as far as spin is concerned, the best left-hander I've seen, and Wasim's there too.
Well, we can go on talking.
Yeah,
about
Wasim Akram for me, I think Wasim Akram and Dennis Lilly were the two best fast bowlers I ever saw. I think Wasim Akram, what he could do with the ball was just amazing. And then Dennis Lilly as well, I think he was just phenomenal.
So we're coming close to picking an all-time World Cup team. We've got Richards, Kohli, we've got Lilly, Akram. Look, we could go on and on, gentlemen. This has been wonderful. It's just been in the presence of two absolute legends. And the great thing is we have more legends on Salaam Cricket. We've got Akram and Sir Viv there. I don't think any channel ever has put together all the legends of the game on one platform in this manner. It's been an honor talking to you, Sunil Gavaskar, Shane Warne. Give them a big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
If I could ask you to stay on just for a moment. We've got to get something on stage for the two of you to unveil, and then Shane needs to stay on for another quick session. As the thing comes on stage, let me read this out to you. India Today Group is proud to launch Aaj Tak 11, a fantasy cricket platform. Please, if you could all settle down. It is a skill-based game which allows the fans to create a virtual team before every match. The ranking of the team depends on the on-field performances of the players selected by the fans.